Call Shadow Minister Gareth Davies.
Well, thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And if you'll indulge me, I'd like to first start my remarks by paying tribute and thanking my right honourable friend, the Shadow Chancellor, for his service on our front bench. I had the pleasure of serving him as PPS and then as Exchequer Secretary in Government. We worked very closely together, and if I may say, there are very few people that match his ability, but also his decency, and I thank him for that. This debate has also had a number of excellent contributions. I'll come on to the maiden speeches in a moment, but my honourable friend for North Cotswolds and the chair of our Public Accounts Committee made important points about the pension fund industry and the importance of getting them to invest in infrastructure, something that we worked on very hard in government. My right honourable friend for Malden rightly pointed out and highlighted the impact of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, which has undoubtedly had a massive impact on our economy, but we were showing the signs of recovery, as he knows and pointed out. My honourable friend for East Grinstead and Uckfield quite rightly pointed out the new tax on education, and in particular the impact on displaced children, which I appreciated. My right honourable friend for Harwich and North Essex gave a great speech, firstly highlighting the importance of pubs in the hospitality industry, but then the importance of broader enterprise to our economy. My honourable friend for Epping Forest, as usual, made some excellent points about the importance of farming as a vet, and in particular the devastating impact on family farms. And finally, my honourable friend for Romford made some excellent remarks, not least about Margaret Thatcher, but in particular about the private sector investment and the importance to our economy. These all followed and were part of a debate that saw some excellent maiden speeches, if I may say. Firstly, the member for Worcester, who as an engineer will bring great talent and experience to this House. He was right to highlight the importance of innovation in our economy, and I personally appreciated his comments about his predecessor, who worked very hard for the people of Worcester, and I'm sure he will do too. The Honourable Lady for Dagenham and Rainham made an excellent speech about her home and comes to this place not just as a local MP, but as a strong advocate for workers throughout that constituency, and I wish her well. The Honourable Gentleman for Livingston is the constituency MP of the home of one of my favourite drinks. Scottish whisky is one of our great exports, and I wish him well championing that sector as well as his constituents. And finally, the Honourable Lady for Ribble Valley painted a wonderful picture of her constituency. Her dad clearly made a very good decision in raising his family there, and if I may say, he would be extremely proud of what she has achieved. But I feel like she's only just getting started. Madam Deputy Speaker, turning to today's subject, which has been titled by the government as Fixing the Foundations, but frankly, I think if the OBR were titling this debate, they'd call it Breaking the Foundations, because in just 1 hour, Labour have broken our economic fundamentals, Labour have broken trust with the British people, and Labour have broken the spirit of aspiration and opportunity, which they will never understand or accept is the true foundation of growth in our economy. Our country has woken up this morning to a new but darker dawn, with fear and a feeling of betrayal. They have woken up to a number of headlines I'm not sure the Chancellor was expecting or hoping for. Just to name a few: Halloween horror show, a 40 billion tax bombshell for Britain's strivers, things can only get better, which I particularly liked, and even The Guardian laments the return of Labour's tax and spend. It is indeed a budget that has broken our economic fundamentals. They've performed their biggest U-turn yet and reversed our economic recovery. Let us never forget, they inherited the fastest growth in the G7. Inflation at target, and a deficit which is half what we inherited from them. Their first act was to spook consumer and business confidence, which fell more sharply than at any time since the pandemic. And now we see those worst fears being realised. Across almost every conceivable metric, the latest figures on our economy make for grim reading, even for Halloween. The highest tax burden in history. Debt up, rising as a share of GDP in every year of the forecast. and debt interest payments above 100 billion in every year of the forecast. That's the first time that's ever happened. The OBR say that inflation will be higher, interest rates will be higher for longer, mortgage rates will be revised up, gilt rates are today soaring, real household incomes declining, and employment will undoubtedly, anybody who's run a business will tell you, undoubtedly will be down. And for what? Unbelievably, and perhaps most humiliatingly, growth, the number one pledge and priority for this Chancellor, has been downgraded as a result of this budget by the OBR. They used to talk about pulling the growth lever, but they've gone and pulled us into reverse. It's unbelievable. Secondly, Labour have also broken trust with the British people. They promised they wouldn't raise national insurance. This budget increases it by £25 billion. They promised their plans were fully funded, but now the OBR calls this budget the largest increase of borrowing as a result of policies in nearly 3 decades. They promised they wouldn't fiddle the fiscal rules, and they've done just that to fund their borrowing spree. They promised they would crowd in private sector investment. The OBR now says that it is being crowded out by this budget. They promised to boost business investment, and the OBR says it will now fall. They promised to cut energy bills by £300. We've questioned them countless times. The OBR now says that we will experience higher gas prices and higher electricity prices. And to justify all of this, they concocted a fictitious black hole which the OBR yesterday has refused to endorse. Richard Hughes, let me quote this to them because I think it's important. We clear this up once and for all. Richard Hughes of the OBR himself was directly addressed and asked this question live on television. He said, nothing in our review was a legitimisation of that £22 billion. Madam Deputy Speaker, nobody believes it. Nobody's backing it up. Finally, Labour have broken the spirit of aspiration, which, as I said, is the true foundation of growth. We on this House, on this side of the House, recognise that it is the British people and British businesses who drive growth and prosperity in our country, not the government, and certainly not this Labour government. Because this budget said to Britain, if you want to invest, to expand, to take risks, to innovate, if you want to build a better life for yourself and your children, Labour won't back you, they'll tax you. Far from fixing the foundations, this is a budget of broken promises, a budget of betrayal, a budget that will set us back, push us down and kill aspiration, a budget for which the public will never forget and never forgive.